Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks. A podcast that still can't believe making $200 million could be considered a failure. It's Sif Pop. Welcome to Sif Pop Weekly, streaming live most Fridays or sometimes really early on Friday morning. Or available to download later in your podcast feed, unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks.
Patrons get those perks.
So early.
I'm your host, Aaron Dicer, and he's being voiced by Chris Pratt this week. It's Andrew Ormsby, ladies and gentlemen.
Ahoy!
Each week we'll chat about movies, TV, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds. And please welcome our first guest this week. Her emotional control room is just anger pushing the anger button. Anytime someone mentions La La Land, it's Alice-Ginevra Micheli, ladies and gentlemen.
How accurate, how accurate. Also, asterisk, very early or very late if you're on literally the other side of the world.
Maybe those two things are related.
Yeah.
And please welcome our second guest this week. He's a pod boy for life. It's John Paula, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Woo!
Glad to be here. Glad to be here. Excited to see how well the robots fare in this year's Summer Sun.
Ah, yes.
Because last year, they actually were the only team to pick one correct answer.
And
that was the thing they did.
That
was
the
one
thing
they did.
That's right. It is the Summer Sum Game Picks episode, and Alice and John are back to join us for that. And if this is your first time hearing the Summer Sum Game, playing along with the Summer Sum Game, then here's how it works. Basically, we're just trying to pick which movies are going to make the most U.S. domestic dollars over the course of the summer. We define the summer from May 1st or the first weekend in May to the first weekend in September. So that full first weekend in September will count towards the totals of the summer. So what we do is we pick 1 through 10 and 3 wild cards. We put them in order, and then you get points based on how close your picks are. So, for instance, if a pick is exactly right, you get 10 points. That's a 10-pointer right there. Difficult to do. More difficult than you would think. If you get it one away, it's 7 points. So there's a real bonus for nailing it. And then it goes down from there. 2 away is 6 points, 3 away is 5 points, so on and so forth. The wild cards are just, flyers you throw out at the end to get a point for in case one of your picks doesn't win. So you are able to grab a point for each of those if they make the top 10. That is what's in store for today. We will do some buried treasure at the end. We'll each have something to recommend to you at the end. So we'll still talk movies, TV, whatever, a little bit then. But this is going to be all about the predictions, baby. And by the way, thank you to a dozen people who are up this early/late if you live in Australia to watch us do this. So we appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us as we do this live. Now, John, you've become a little bit of the historian with your fancy charts and such. I'm
happy to take that mantle, yes.
Of the Summer Sum Game since you joined us. Phil, throw up the chart from last year. And when I say throw up, I mean the chat GPT picks from last year as well as ours.
So over there on the left, for the listeners at home who can't see this, we have the actual box office winners of last summer. Barbie, Spider-Man, Guardians 3, Oppenheimer, Little Mermaid, Sound of Freedom, Dial of Destiny, Mission Impossible
I forgot about Sound of Freedom.
Transformers, Rise of the Beast, and Elemental. And of all of our 40 picks, the only pick that was in the right spot was ChatGPT's silver medal selection of Spider-Man, which actually was the second highest grossing. But the headline is that Aaron got the most points. He got the most picks close to where they ended up with 41 overall. And then, Alice, you got second place with 38 total points. And then if we give Andrew the benefit of the doubt and adjust his ChatGPT picks a couple, because I think we all agreed that ChatGPT clearly misunderstood the concept or the rules behind the wild cards, and it kind of it placed them at top rather than at bottom. If we give Andrew that benefit, he placed third, tied with me with 37 points. So that is that's what we're looking at in terms of how well we can or cannot do.
And how does that make you feel, John?
Not great. So I am looking to redeem myself. That said, I mean, we all got. I think we all missed Fast X. That was the big sort of swing and a miss, and nobody predicted Sound of Freedom. I think none of us.
It wasn't even on our list of
wasn't on our
nobody,
list.
Nobody had it
wasn't
on
the
list.
right. And
I
like
think
I
most
said,
of us
I
had
forgot about
Barbie.
it since then.
Most of us had Barbie, but like Andrew and I had Barbie 10th. Aaron, you had it 9th. Alice, you're the only one that was actually a bit bullish on it, but even said nobody predicted that was going to do 1.4 billion.
The Barbenheimer in hindsight looks like an obvious thing, but I'm telling you, when we did this last year, it was not an obvious thing. Three of us had Oppenheimer in our wild cards. We didn't even have it listed in our top 10. Like, so the fact that Barbie and Oppenheimer were the, both in the top 5 just kind of blew everybody's mind. So, yeah, the question is, do you then adjust to that kind of thinking as you play this game and try to throw some, crazy picks in there? Or do you just go with kind of common consensus and just hope to get close? Like, how do you guys approach it knowing how off we were last year, how off most people were last year in this kind of new era of movies, post-COVID era of movie totals? Like, how do you adjust from that? Do you make any changes?
I don't think you can. I don't think you can predict the unpredictable. I think you have to just go with your best guess and hope that this summer is, quote, normal. Because trying to pull out a wild card like the Sound of Freedom is going to be almost impossible because you're never going to know what's going to be that one that pops off. But if anybody did take one of those that's what the wild cards are for, is to throw out a guess that you think is maybe unusual or surprising. For me, I just kind of use it as slots 11 through 13. But yeah, I don't think it's possible to play it that way.
Alice,
I just went with the vibes. I just went pure vibes because, should I say, I wish I had a handicap being in a group of Americanos while I am not that. So I can't go out in the streets and get the general vibe of the public and what's going on at the
You
movie
overestimate how
theaters.
many people are on our street.
I was going to say, because that's what we're doing.
Yeah, obviously. That's what you go to the movies.
Alice,
you're
we're using
sensing
the
vibe.
same internet you are.
No, but like even like being in the movie theaters and I'm going off Australian movie theaters, which we are not even a market. We're such a small market that Disney isn't even giving us Blu-rays anymore. Like we're on a different zone of things. So I'm going off vibes. I really there are some which I was like, oh, this makes sense, and then I looked up say previous elements and I was like, oh no.
Right.
And then I decided to double down anyway because I'm like, I'm just going off. I'm instincting it. I even did a little like I saw what point in the summer they were coming out and what like audience type they might, and then I was like competition. I tried to strategize and then I was just like, Alice, just vibe it. You got to vibe it. So I did have a question as well once we get to it regarding 1/2 specific movies, but I'll let the round out happen first.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to quickly say that part of my process is definitely looking at past indicators in previous installments because I think of all the movies that are going to show up on our top 10, I would say pretty safely that 90% of them are part of established franchises. There are very few original IPs left that I think will make waves this summer. And of the ones that are established, it's like, okay, well, how well did the last few Minions movies make? How well did the last few Quiet Place movies make? And some of those answers are surprising because it's like, I'm not tapped in to that, Gen Z zeitgeist, but apparently the Minions movies are making bank. And I I was aware of it, but like not to the degree that like, oh shoot,
I
this
don't know if
actually has
that's
a real
Gen
shot.
Z or like Gen Alpha and Beta. Like just
It's definitely it skews younger than I would have thought, but now
Yeah.
it's actually gotten to the point where Despicable Me 4 is almost a nostalgia play for the oldest of the kids that are like 20 to 25 now grew up with the first Despicable Me when they were like my kids' age, when they were like 5, 6, and 7, and now it's been whatever 10, 13 years since the first one. So
Look, I'm going to change the subject because I'm not comfortable talking about how many generations exist before my generation now. But Andrew, I did want your take. Have you switched anything up with what you're doing this
Yes.
year? Are you
What did you
still
do? What
using
did you do?
the internets? How are you going about it this year?
I did do something different this year.
All right.
Don't worry.
I expect no less.
Don't worry, ChatGPT is still very much going to be a part of this year's Summer Sum game, but in a different way. Here's how. I felt that after listening to last year's Summer Sum game, while it was a blast and a half and is probably my favorite podcast we've ever done, I felt that I relied personally too much on ChatGPT as a crutch. So ChatGPT is going to be a baseline for every non-artificial intelligence out there making this list. So yes, this year I have my own personal list alongside ChatGPT. So if you guys want to laugh at me this year in my picks, instead of me just using ChatGPT as a scapegoat, you can do that.
So are you saying I should add a 5th column to this chart that says your name and a separate one for ChatGPT?
Correct.
All right, you got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Coming up.
Jonathan doing some live editing on the spreadsheet that will keep our list going. So I think for me, to answer my own question, I did kind of change up a little bit of how I do this. I feel like which is interesting considering I won, maybe I should just keep doing what I'm doing. But I found success both in this game and in the Oscars picks with finding like 2 or 3 zags. You know, like it's just the more I try to stick to my understanding of comps and, you know, what other people are saying, I think the worse I do. Like, I just think I'm better to kind of go with where I look at the common understanding of things and go, yeah, that makes complete sense to me. Not going to zag there. And then others where I go, this could be an interesting zag, and then do that. So I'm zagging a few places because it's worked for me before, and hopefully
I look forward to finding out what those are and how closely they might have. I feel like I probably have the most traditional of the lists. I haven't seen yours, but I pretty much went straight down the middle. This is what I think a lot of industry insiders are probably going to agree with, but yeah, we'll see.
No, something else I did as well, because I was feeling a bit about particularly my second pick. I went and I saw the views on YouTube for the trailers, and I was thinking about
good strategy.
The marketing strategy, just because of Barbie, and I'm like, okay, I feel like marketing has become more interesting lately, because I just, and that is just to make me feel better, because I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then if I went on and the trailer had, but then I was like, oh, but the trailer's the whole world. And then I just, like I said, that's where we then just went back to instinct and vibes. So we'll see.
You make a good
I'm
point.
also wearing my Knuff hoodie as a little bit of a good luck charm for the for the
nice. My picks are Knuff.
Yeah.
No, there's lots of good strategy there. Clearly earlier movies in the summer you mentioned are going to have a little bit of a leg up because they have more time. Because we're not going to wait and see those movies that come out the first week of September. We're not waiting to see how much they make. Game's over. It's the money actually made during the summer. So something that releases in August is a risky pick, like a really risky pick.
So I actually included, I don't know how many are here, about 30 movies, anything that's probably going to be in our pick. And I included those on the right side of our chart, released or ordered by release date. So if you're curious about that sort of content calendar between May 2nd and August 30th, I think you probably have a better chance with something like The Fall Guy instead of, say, Kraven the Hunter.
Well, I have a question regarding a film, and this is also a question when it'll come to awards season as well. But I don't know if anyone has either one on their list, so I don't know. But I have a question regarding Horizon: An American Saga, because there's it's 2 movies, but is it 1 movie?
No, it's 2.
And so
It's 2
okay.
movies.
Because like, are they going to submit it as 1 movie to the awards? I know that's a question, and so then I'm like, is that also?
They'd have to release it as
re-release
one.
it.
Yeah, they'd have to re-release it as 1 movie if
Okay.
they wanted to do that. But
Okay.
as far
in
as
this
we
case,
know,
we're considering it 2 films.
it is 2 films. It is absolutely
Okay.
2 films.
Okay.
They're both just coming out during the summer. So
I think Aaron, you had the prevailing theory last we spoke on this show that Costner seems predisposed to potentially take advantage of that loophole, if you want to call it that, and at some point, maybe in November, December, in award season, do like a
Release
limited
both.
re-release engagement, a couple cities, 1 week only. Here's the 5-hour cut of
Yep.
both parts,
I think that's
and
possible.
then nominate that, or
Yep.
submit that for nomination. And
I think
I
that's
could
possible.
totally see him doing that.
All right, well,
Okay.
let's get into it. No need to wait. We are going to go from number 1 to number 10 and then do our wild cards. The reason for this is I find the further down the list you go, the more interesting it gets. And so we will end with the wild cards and do it that way. So let's go with let's end with ChatGPT's picks. So let's start with Andrew's picks. Andrew, what is your number 1 pick for the summer of 2024?
Just so everybody knows, I've got a voice modulator system. So whenever it's Chat GPT's turn, if you hear,
Good to
a
know.
weird
Thank you for the warning.
Giant
number
means
one-
input.
He's going method, guys. Oh my
I am.
gosh.
I told you I'm not holding anything back this year.
I love it.
Number 1, I have Deadpool and Wolverine.
All right. Yeah, that's a pretty.
On the board.
Deadpool and Wolverine, probably going to be pretty high for everybody. Jonathan, what did you have at number 1?
Deadpool and Wolverine.
All right. Alice, what did you have at number 1?
Me too. It's the only
Dang.
Marvel thing this year. It's Ryan Reynolds. It's Hugh Jackman. Like, come on. Come on.
Come on, indeed. Come on, Aaron. You would have to have that at number 1 as well.
I bet you don't.
I do not underestimate my first zag of the summer
Is it Inside Out?
in an Inside Out 2. Inside
Yes!
Out 2 is going to make $800 million. I am telling you, it's going to make whatever Super Mario made. I'm just telling you right now, that first big family movie kind of thing it's going to have legs. It's going to do well. The first one made a ton of money and is an incredible film, and people are pumped about this movie. This movie, I think, is in the zeitgeist and might pull a Barbie. But yeah, so that is my first zag is putting Inside Out 2
A
at
gutsy
number
pick,
1.
but honestly, not outside the realm of possibility at all. I could see that very easily doing what you just described.
Very nice. All right, ChatGPT, what is your number 1?
Everybody knows Deadpool and Wolverine, the best. Most tremendous characters, really huge. Huge draws at the box office, absolutely massive. People love these guys, and when you put them together, it's really huge.
That's good. That's yes.
There you go. All right.
So there we go. ChatGPT joins the others in putting Deadpool and Wolverine at the top. So there's my first zag. Already got it out there. There will be more. All right, let's move on to number 2. Andrew Ormsby, what do you got at number 2?
Let's see. I'm going back to my list now. I am going to go with Inside Out 2.
All right.
Yeah, I think that that whole franchise it just is screaming for more movies. How long has it been since the first one came out?
10 years.
Yeah, it's been a decade.
Yeah.
What? Has
Or
it
was it only
really?
9? Maybe it was only 9 years.
No,
It was
but
14,
you see,
wasn't it?
no, that can't be. No.
Am I wrong? Or was
I'm
it
not that
15?
old.
No, it was 15.
I'm not
It was
that old.
15.
No.
You're right,
Okay.
Alice. It was only 9 years ago. You're correct.
Oh, okay, I feel better now.
Regardless, though, huge critical and commercial success, innovative. Yeah, the sequel's going to make bucks.
Yeah, I think so too. John, what do you have at number 2?
This is where I slotted Despicable Me 4. I think that series, with all the, I mentioned it earlier, but all the Gen Z kids showing up in tuxedos and stuff to the last installment, I think we might see some of that sort of memification And I don't know, I'm less bullish on Inside Out 2 only because the last few Pixar movies have not done like gangbuster numbers like we're accustomed to from that studio. And I hope that's wrong, and I hope it does huge numbers, but yeah, I don't have it at second.
Yeah, the only possible downside for Inside Out 2 that I could think of is the Disney Plusification of the audience. In other words,
Yes.
we know this is going to be on Disney Plus in 4 months. So I'm hanging my hat that this is one that people will not want to miss the memes on, will not want to miss the conversation on, like that it has that, I mean,
Elemental still made its way in there. So,
yeah,
last year.
that's true. And you mentioned the last two Pixars. Was either of those a franchise, or were both those original?
I guess Lightyear was.
Lightyear was kind of a franchise. Yeah, kind of ish.
Kind of.
I guess.
I don't know if that fully counts, but yeah.
I mean, that is a good point. And I know personally I'll be taking my kids to see Inside Out opening weekend, but I think a lot of families will be taking their kids to see Despicable Me as well. And they're very similar comparisons.
Yeah.
And they come out just a few weeks apart. June 14th for Inside Out and July 4th weekend for Despicable Me. So
I also think, well, Alice, go ahead. What is your number 2?
Okay, so this is one that makes no sense based on the previous elements of the franchise, technically, but it's just had so much marketing. And this is one where I'm like, maybe I've just had more marketing because I'm in Australia. And it's Furiosa, a Mad Max saga.
Okay.
Because
All right.
I think this is one of those movies where it's like, because I you're shocked. You're like, oh, Mad Max, huge movie. I then went and I checked the box office and it was like good, but it wasn't like huge. And so I was like, oh, but I'm thinking, it's been out for a while. There's been a few re-releases. People have grown to love it. This one has like a 15-minute action scene that took 78 days to film. People are loving, and I'm also hoping that there's like a bit of a Dune, like, oh, I want more Dune, but I've seen Dune, and also with the success of Fallout, and this kind of very neatly tucks into that wavelength.
I can see this doing well on the premium large format screens for sure.
And it comes out end of May, so it has so much time to do well. So
yeah, this is Memorial Day weekend. That I think is not. Don't bury the lead. Memorial Day weekend, anything can open well.
This is
on that
this is my big
weekend.
vibe pick, because the first one, while it did well enough, it didn't do like crazy amounts well, but it's had so much marketing everywhere, and I think it's like the big exciting action, like serious action, practical effects thing, epic. So we shall see. Yay for Australia.
Well, I like that you picked this at number 2, because it goes along with something I was going to say about Inside Out 2, which is these are also. Listen, I know there's a whole Mad Max franchise, but this is technically the second movie in this mini franchise, right?
It also came out in 2015.
That also came out in 2015. And so there is historically, you will see the second movie in a franchise just blow
Well,
the
this is what
numbers
happened
out
with
of the water.
Spider-Verse last year, right? The first Spider-Verse, everyone was like, when you went back and checked it, it did well, but again, and then the second one made so much money and became second.
Second movies of successful, beloved first movies are huge. And so I think both Furiosa and Inside Out 2 could benefit from that. My number 2 is Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm not going to be super crazy. I'm not going to put it down lower than number 2. Everything you guys said is correct. It is the only Marvel movie. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are just a walking marketing tool for this movie. Like, they're just, people love them and love their interactions.
And I think we personally, when we did our most anticipated of the year back in January, I think all three of us put this at number 1, right? Or at least the top 2.
Yeah.
It also has the most trailer views out of any of the movies that are like coming out in summer, and it only just came out. So, yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I have it at number 2. ChatGPT, what is your number 2 pick?
Despicable Me for a total winner. Always pulls in big numbers. Kids love it. Families love it. We're talking big, big, big box office numbers here. Every installment gets better. People are saying this one is going to be the best.
All right, ChatGPT coming in with. I wonder what the T in GPT stands for in this case.
If I may pull back the curtain a bit, Andrew, did you also have ChatGPT give you the answer in prose in the style of Trump?
You know,
And that's
I
what you're
did.
reading?
That's what I'm reading. Because these aren't my picks. I can't speak for ChatGPT.
No,
this year.
ChatGPT has to speak for itself. I totally understand.
Right, but I was curious if you specifically said not only give me the answers, but give me the answers in the style of President 45.
I did. That's exactly.
great.
Or not 40. I just said give me the ends in the
that's
voice
funny.
of Trump. I have to say, even though we're only 2 down, John, you are picking the same thing as ChatGPT.
I told you, I went pretty much down the middle in terms of predictability and what I think is going to be the most normal summer. And that won't be the case, but I think that gives me the safest bet to get the most correct. I don't expect I'll get, 10 out of 10, though. But in a normal environment, maybe.
Well, I'm already much more impressed with ChatGPT's picks this year than last year. So, yeah, this could
The
get really, really
algorithms
interesting.
had a year to cook.
All right,
It's learning.
Let's go to number 3. Ormsby, what you got at number 3?
Number 3, this is my biggest zag, as it were, if I were to steal a vernacular from you. I'm going to go with Borderlands.
Ooh. Wow.
Comes out on
that would
August
be a,
9th. That's a little late in the season, but why
got
It is
one
a little-
That is a zag.
Yeah,
Zig.
but I think that the pre-sales for this are going to be insane.
Are you sure you
And-
didn't get yours and ChatGPT picks mixed
No.
up on this one? All
No,
right,
like
just making
No,
sure.
this is all me. Like I said, this is my biggest zag. And also, please keep in mind, everybody, I am really bad at predicting things. Like, really, really bad, except when it comes to the Oscars for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, you're going to have plenty of reasons to wonder why I didn't just go with ChatGPT again this year. Don't worry.
All right.
But no, I think that Borderlands, just the star power alone, you're going to see a lot in pre-sales.
All right, Borderlands is Ormsby's number 3. John, what do you got at number 3?
This is where I put Inside Out 2. And echo all the sentiments you said earlier, Aaron. I think this is going to do huge numbers. This is probably going to approach 300 to 400 million domestic, maybe 700, 800 worldwide. Maybe this might be a good part of the show. Do we think any of these movies will hit $1 billion worldwide?
I do.
Inside Out,
Inside Out.
Wolverine.
I think there's a few. I actually
Thank
think
you,
there's quite a
ChatGPT.
few that will hit worldwide. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it might just be our top 2 picks. It might be Despicable Me and Inside Out and Deadpool. and
Our
those 3.
top 2 picks, John.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, between the movies we all picked at top in those 2, those 3 or 4 movies we had, it will have to be one of those, I think.
Alice, what do you got at number 3?
This is how successful I thought this film was going to be. I accidentally wrote Inside Out 3 on my list instead of Inside Out 2. And I didn't notice until right now. And I would have sent Phil the exact same. I would have sent him Inside Out 3. Look, that's the vibe. It's going to be so successful. They're going to immediately announce the third one. But yeah, I mean, the first one made so much money. And this time, they're bringing in anxiety and ennui. Hello, speaking to my generation much? Like, between this and the Taylor Swift I Can Do It With a Broken Heart song, we are just getting, content that speaks to the fact that we constantly want to cry but have to keep going to work every day. So I am ready.
That is the true millennial experience, indeed.
Yes, yes.
I think you're absolutely right, and I'm actually recalling a conversation Aaron and Danae and I had when I was on this podcast in like the 3rd episode talking about Inside Out, and we all remarked that the concept of a sequel that dove into puberty and adolescence would be
I'm so excited
rife
for it.
possibilities. We were like
There's
salivating
just so
at the
much
idea.
you can delve into. There's so much.
It's
Because what is it?
been
It's
my-
ennui, anxiety. What's the third one? Hang on, I'm gonna look it up.
I genuinely didn't even know those 2 because I
Oh yes.
don't know anything. But no, for the last 8 years, it has been my answer to the common question of what movie that's not a franchise deserves to be a franchise. It was always my answer, was Inside Out. You could do so much with it. It doesn't
And I
even
know
have
you
to
got-
stay with Riley. Like it
Right.
could be another person. There's just so much interesting stuff you could do with that concept.
Do you mind
you
if
got
I
the
say
joy
what
with
the
Riley.
Right on
other?
your shelf there too.
Do you mind if
yeah.
I say what the other 2 emotions are, Aaron, or do you want to be kept out of the loop completely.
I'm fine. That's fine.
Okay. So it's like I mentioned, ennui, anxiety, and then the other two are envy and embarrassment. There's just, I can, and she's a girl. The way I'm going to relate to this movie is going to be unmatched, I swear.
For those listening at home, producer Phil has created an Inside Out 3 poster that he has shown everybody.
You need to have a Inside Out 15, the midlife crisis.
Yes.
Yeah. Except we're having that when we turn 30 now.
All right, my number 3. I echo everything that John said about this movie succeeding. I have Despicable Me 4, and I do think it is the 1, 2, 3 that have a chance to make $1 billion. I think any of these 3 could make $1 billion worldwide. It is crazy to me how successful the Despicable Me universe movies are. And I guess I get it because there is a lot of memification ability with these movies.
But on the other hand, they're not great movies.
They aren't. No.
Neither was Five Nights at Freddy's, and that's getting 2 sequels based on the memification.
That was
of
super
it, so.
cheap, and I think that's an important distinction. That was very, very cheap to make.
It still
Despicable
made
Me is
so
not
much money.
like an affordable franchise. The Illumination's pouring $100 million.
But this is targeting both like the families who are like, oh, look, it's another one, Minions, and then also the Gen Zers who are just so far down the meme train. It's just, and I can say this because I'm practically Gen Z. I'm right on the border, right? So, but the young Gen Zers, they're just so far down the meme train. It's unrecognizable at this point, and so it just very well translates to both of those groups.
All right. ChatGPT, what do you have at number 3?
I gotta tell you, this guy John, he's got some great picks so far. Let's go with Inside Out 2. The first movie was a total blockbuster, very successful, very popular. Pixar does things right, very professional. Everyone's going to want to go see this and see what happens next, believe me.
All right.
So I'm in lockstep right now with the robots. I don't know how I should feel about that.
So when you were like, no, it's going to be
Over
very
here.
different this year, you were completely wrong.
All right. There is a look at our top 3. Pretty much the exact same movies except for Alice. And Andrew has Borderlands in there. So yeah. So Furious and Borderlands, the only ones cracking that Deadpool Inside Out
The
Despicable Me
deserty
threesome.
movies. We're in a desert, if you will.
Yes. Okay. Let's go to our number 4s. Andrew, what do you got?
Number 4, hopefully this movie does well. Hopefully it's a good movie. Gonna go with Twisters.
Ooh.
Nice pick.
Okay. All right. Okay.
That's a choice.
Do you want to give any reasons?
No, I just felt like
All right.
Twisters.
Twisters.
Glenn Powell.
It's the old, James Cameron standing at the board and just adding an S with a
Just
dollar,
adding
an
making
S.
it a dollar sign.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Andrew believes in that dollar sign.
I do.
All right, John, what do you got at number 4?
Well, I'll be free to talk about it because Twisters is also my 4th pick.
Ooh,
and
I
Oh
love
my
it.
goodness.
I think
What?
a big reason for this is Glenn Powell is coming off of a really good
Yes, very
last
hot.
couple of years, right? He did Top Gun Maverick. He did Anyone But You. He's a heartthrob. He's a box office pull. And I think, least we forget, the original Twisters, which is now 28 years old, was the second highest grossing movie of 1996, over $900 million. I think people are looking for a big spectacle film, a big, large format screen that you don't need to have necessarily seen the original. It doesn't have a lot of backstory or plot or lore. It's just watch stuff get destroyed. I think there's an audience for that. I think the disaster movie might start to make a comeback. And it all depends on whether or not this movie is good, certainly. And it's going to have some competition because it comes out July 19th, just 7 days before Deadpool and Wolverine do. So it'll have its legs cut out from under it very quickly, but I think it'll open strong. And if the reception's good, I could see that being a really good, August movie. That people, after they see Deadpool, they'll go back and see Twisters, in its 3rd or 4th week.
I almost made this one of my zags because of some of the things you said, but that final thing you said is why I didn't. I think it's going to get its legs just completely crushed out from underneath it very quickly.
I also
it
think
will have
disaster
to hit the
films-
zeitgeist pretty huge for it to maintain any kind of momentum.
Yeah.
I think
feel
it'll
like
be
this
on
is
a
the
top
type of
10
film
no
I'd
matter
watch
what,
at
but-
home too. Like you know what I mean? Like you'd be like, streaming, and then I'd rather
That's
go
very
see.
I feel exactly the opposite, but maybe I'm the weird one. Like this is maybe one of the only movies where I'm like, oh, I got to see this on a big screen with the best sound. The sound from the original Twister blew my mind. Now I've many times explained Twister was the very first movie I saw in movie theaters as an adult.
Of course it blew your mind.
Exactly. So I have a little bit of
Beauty and the Beast
nostalgia.
blowing your mind in the sound.
Yeah.
And
But
fun
that-
fact, Twisters, you speaking of home video, Twisters was actually the very first movie ever released on DVD and the very last movie ever released on HD DVD, that now defunct format.
Interesting.
So yeah, there is a bit of a predisposition for people enjoying that on a good sound system at home. But yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Aaron. I think this is an IMAX kind of event. But will people show up that first weekend? Because if they don't, it might not be available to watch on a premium large format screen in week
That's
2.
true. That's true. Alice, what do you got at number 4?
Well, hopefully I will be having a good day, and we will also be looking at Despicable Me 4 for this one. That is a reference to the song from the first movie, by the way, where
Thank you
it
for explaining your
goes, I'm
references.
having a bad day. Yeah, the good one. I really like the first one, and then, you know, the other ones are fine. But yeah, I was like, oh, how much did the last one make? How much did The Rise of Gru make? That wouldn't have made a lot. Blah, blah, blah. Go online. Oh my lord. No, it made so much money. So of course it's going to make a lot of money. But I don't want it to get one of the top 3 slots. So I gave it number 4 instead.
Got
That's
it.
fair.
Aspirational thinking. My number 4 is my next Zag. Well, I know I have it higher than all of you because you've all done your number 4s. And I think I probably have it quite a bit higher. But I think we are about to very quickly see a hit movie. I think the first movie of the summer is going to be much bigger than people think. The Fall Guy is my number 4. I can see the Barbenheimer effect moving this movie because it's Gosling. And there's a reason they moved this movie to this date. This was originally going to be earlier in the spring, and they were like, we have something here. And I tend to agree.
There's also not much competition for it.
Correct.
Like, for a while.
It's opening. Well, it's opening opposite Unfrosted, the Pop-Tart story by Jerry.
Actually,
Netflix.
it's already open in some markets because
Oh,
your
alright,
girl
well,
already
okay.
has already seen it, and it's very good.
Okay.
I will say, bit of a warning: if you work in the film industry, it's a little bit triggering in like a fun way, but then
great,
also
great.
yeah. But anyway, yes, it's very very good. So,
Aaron, I'm
you
glad
should
to hear
go
you're
and see
excited
it.
about The Fall Guy. I'm excited to see it myself, I think, for the reasons you mentioned. But it's David Leitch, and I don't know that he, has the pedigree for like a huge box office winner outside of his core, male 30-something demo. But this is kind of a date movie. It's being billed as a rom-com. I think Emily Blunt will put some butts in seats, and if Ryan Gosling doesn't put all of them there himself, because he's just right now the charmingest person on the planet.
He's the hottest thing on the planet right now.
He really is.
I mean, his Saturday Night Live went viral
most
several
viewed
of the
episode
videos.
of the season.
Yeah, so I just think the Gosling effect is really going to push this one up there.
He's very funny, so that makes things fun. And it's set in Sydney. Oh, look at all the Australia happening. So yeah.
So yeah, Fall Guy is my number 4. ChatGPT, what do you have at number 4?
First time anybody's mentioning this film, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This franchise, very strong, very powerful. The 8 movies do fantastically well. Great effects, great acting. People love these kinds of movies. They do terrific at the box office.
All right, ChatGPT, putting in our
Respectable.
first mention of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Not bad logic there from ChatGPT. All right, let's
I'm
move
excited for
into
that one.
our number 5s. What do you have as your number 5, Mr. Ormsby?
This is where I'm going to have Furiosa, the Mad Max saga. Echo everything you guys have said. It's Anya Taylor-Joy. I think this could potentially be her Hunger Games, as it were, like it was for Jennifer Lawrence, Like she had some star power before, like Jennifer Lawrence had done Winter's Bone and stuff like that, but it was the thing that really launched her. Like, I think that this could potentially be this for Anya Taylor-Joy. Like, she had Queen's Gambit, and a lot of people knew her from that. But this could be the big thing that everybody's like, oh, she's the new hot commodity in Hollywood.
Yeah. All right, John, what is your number 5?
This is where I have put Bad Boys: Ride or Die. And we will see if the
Our first
Oscars
mention.
slap will actually affect the box office pull, because heretofore the Bad Boys franchise has been very dependably big. This was famously, the last installment was like the last big movie before COVID, and Bad Boys, which that one should have been called Bad Boys. This one should have been called Bad Boys for Life. But the last one was, even though it was the third installment, that one made over $200 million domestic, like
It made
2 weeks
so
before
much
COVID.
money.
And and people love this duo, and I think the big question mark is, are people going to have shunned and ostracized Will Smith for what he did at the Oscars? And I think some people will genuinely be so turned off by his behavior that they're like, I'm not going to support him, I'm not going to go see him. I don't think that really affects my interest in the movie. I'll probably go and check it out. But yeah, I have it at 5th. I think based on the franchise up until now, it could make several $100 million domestic at least. I don't know if it plays as big overseas, but here in the States, this is a very popular franchise.
It does play well. It definitely plays well. Alice, what do you have at number 5?
Well, I thought this would have been mentioned by now, but we all saw that stupid little animated films do well, so here's the Garfield movie for you, because Garfield's a recognizable name, even if I feel like it's the same. I mean, obviously it's not a video game, but I feel like it's a similar vibe to Mario, where it's like, and also it has Chris Pratt, but it's like just got enough. And for the people, because it comes out at the end of May, which is before Despicable Me and before
It comes out the
Inside Out
same
2.
Memorial Day weekend. This opens opposite Furiosa.
Literally, and think about it. Like,
It's counter.
all the kids and stuff have to go see something for a while, and so they'll go see this, and then they've still got a few weeks before. This is just, I just sense, even though it's probably going to be dumb, it'll make a lot of money. Look, I hope it's good. I really do, but I don't want this. But it could, it could make a lot of money.
All right, our first mention of the Garfield movie. The studio's desperately trying to get Garfuriosa to be a thing, and it is not catching.
Fury of Field.
Fury Field. Fury Field.
Yeah.
So yes, Garfield is certainly worth a mention. My number 5 is the other half of that weekend. My number 5 is Furiosa. That's where I have Furiosa at. And I think everything you guys said has been correct. This is actually the one movie in my top 5 that's not necessarily a zag, that I would not be surprised if it makes less than I think it's going to make. I think Furiosa is one of those really, really hot movies in movie culture that hasn't necessarily translated to the wider commercialism pop culture in a big way. Now, the first movie made plenty of money.
Everyone on film Twitter will be talking about Mad Max.
Yes.
But I don't know that, like, outside of these type of circles, people that listen to film podcasts, people like us, I don't know that it could do. I hope it does. I mean, I'm really excited.
What did Fury
for it.
Road make? Does anybody
Good amount
know?
of money.
It was like 353, like worldwide. It was not very much at all.
And I talk about the
Not
second,
very much.
the second movie bump. Like already mentioned, that could happen with this movie. So I that is why I have it in my top 5. Like eventually, I was like, yeah, there's a lot here that could put it in the top 5. And so yeah, I kept it there. But I have this sneaking suspicion that we all are more excited about it than the normal person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it's had so much marketing. That is the thing that's keeping me, like, the amount. Again, I don't know if it's maybe different for you guys, because for us it's like, oh, look at the Australians doing well, and so that's maybe why it's everywhere and in front of every single film, and like the posters, and it's on every social media. It's constant, and so it's had a very good marketing strategy. So that is why, and it's had a lot of YouTube trailer views. So I'm just like, maybe.
Yeah. I'm just telling you, those YouTube trailer views are coming from, the fanboys. Like, it's just in the fangirls. Like, Nick in the chat said Fury Road made 135 domestic. That's not a lot to get it even up in the top 5. Like, if this makes 135 domestic, it's not going to be in the top 5.
But Spider-Verse
It
also
actually
made
opened-
very
it
little
actually-
money. So
No,
there's a
I understand.
chance.
I'm with you. I put it at number 5. Believe me. I just have this
Aaron,
sneaking.
you have
I
to
just
give
have-
this to me.
I have this sneaking suspicion that it's not going to even make the top.
It actually
5.
opened second place behind Pitch Perfect 2. So
Yeah.
to give you a sense of where we were 9 years ago, Pitch Perfect was the bigger box.
Look,
office
guys,
pull.
Fast X didn't make the top 10 last year. Like,
I know.
I'm just telling you, like, it's just, I just think there are some movies that are just, we think they're, more of a thing than they are.
Right.
Maybe the Fast didn't work this last time. Maybe the Furious will work this time.
There you go. I like it. ChatGPT, what do you have at number 5?
Mad Max is just incredible. Really top notch. Fury Road masterpiece. Really. People are excited and they love action. This one's gonna be big, very big.
It's funny, ChatGPT. Every time you say something good about the movie, I just want to like it less. I don't know why that is. I can't figure it out. Just some sort of response. All right, let's go on to our number 6s.
Hey, I got different voices here. I could choose a whole plethora of voices.
Oh, that'd be
Well, then
fun.
you'd have to have them rewrite you'd have to have ChatGPT rewrite in a different voice.
Oh, that's easy enough to do.
Cool.
That's interesting. Real quickly, reflecting on where we are at the halfway point, 3 of you, including the robot, chose Furiosa in the 5th spot, which is interesting that we had. That seems like a weird place for consensus in the middle, but just wanted to point that out. We got three different picks for Furiosa there.
Yep. And I think Deadpool with 4 picks is the most, right?
Yeah,
So we had 2
right.
for Despicable Me at number 2, 3 for Inside Out at number 3.
I feel like I should color
2
code
people
some of
with
these and
Twisters
maybe
at number 4.
help pull them apart a little bit. I'll do a little bit of
All right, let's move on to our number 6. What do you got, Andrew?
Number 6, I am going to go with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully this is good. I don't even, this is one of those movies where I don't even care like about the Summer Sum game. At some point I'm just like, just please be a good movie. Just please be a good movie, because I love this franchise so much. Just recently rewatched it. War broke my heart, but I still think that Dawn of Planet of the Apes is my favorite out of all of them. And
Dawn is. I don't think Dawn gets enough credit for being one of the absolute best and most complete, like, blockbuster experiences of the last decade.
From what I understand, I think the consensus is that Dawn is the best of the 3, right?
It
I mean,
is.
that's just
I
what.
think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
I've heard.
But I mean, when we talk about like
Koba
best
is such
movie
a great
trilogies of all
villain.
time, it's weird that this doesn't come up in more conversations as best movie trilogy, because those 3 films are so good and so consistently excellent.
I think it's because they're all just really good. So you're just like, they're all
And
amazing.
So confusingly named.
They all have the wrong title. There's
Yeah,
been a lot of
Yeah.
talk about how
Right.
the
I
third
get
one
so
should be
frustrated.
Yeah.
Not to mention this one, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I hate the title so much.
Well, they all
Double
got
Fs.
that problem. Beneath the Planet of the it's yeah.
All right, John, you're number 6.
This is where I don't think we've talked about this one yet. This is where I have A Quiet Place, Day 1,
Oh,
6th spot.
Horror film.
Yeah. The last couple installments have all made upwards of 160, 170 million domestic. I think this is one of those movies that if people connect with it, horror movies, I think this counts as a horror movie. Those can do really well. I think people will kind of turn out for this to see where the story began. I think since the original installment, we've wanted to see more of the sort of origins of that really fascinating like invasion that we glimpsed in little bits and pieces in the previous films. And they're all been really, really well received. So I think reception could be really high on this. But this is admittedly a bit of a more optimistic pick, putting it this high.
Yeah, I definitely don't have it this high. But this is another one I have a sneaking. I think this movie might bomb. I have a
really could.
sneaking suspicion that
I haven't seen like anything anywhere about it. Like I know the trailer exists, but I've never seen it. I've never gotten targeted with it. I had to seek it out.
Yeah.
We got 2 months for this one. This one comes out on June 28th. And Aaron, you're right. This could absolutely, without John Krasinski and Emily Blunt in it, people could just be like, I don't really care. there's nobody in it that there's no characters that are carrying over from the previous installments. And that's always tricky. This is technically a spin-off, and those sometimes can do
Jim
much
Hansu's
worse.
coming back.
Yeah, that's right. He had a part in the second one, right?
Yeah, he's back in this one.
Yeah.
He was completely wasted in the second one. Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
wasted
I see what you did there.
so many.
Alice, what is your number 6?
This is where I also have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, because it comes out very, very early, and I just feel like it's just got like a nice little runway for when people have seen Furiosa and seen all the other films, and they're just, like, oh, I want to go to the movies. Oh, yeah, okay, might as well. I enjoy Planet of the Apes. It's recognizable enough. I also very much hope it's good, because I want Wes Ball to prove to me that beyond the first Maze Runner, he can do a good film, because then the Zelda film will be a good film. So I need him to prove it, so that we can have faith in the Legend of Zelda film.
I think that the first Maze Runner is the only good Maze Runner movie.
Correct. You are correct. And it is...
You have made a correct statement.
Yes.
It is the only passable of the films he has made. And so I need this one to be good. So that then we can be like, oh, the Legend of Zelda movie could be worth watching.
Yeah.
So...
I am going to make it consensus. I have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes as well at number 6. I just couldn't put it any lower than this. I think it could do well. I think it'll probably land in that, 150, maybe inch up towards 200 million mark. Again, I feel similar to this movie as I do about Furiosa, in that I don't know if the regular moviegoer sees this franchise as amazing as most of us movie lovers do. I don't know. Like, I don't know how the normal person is like, oh, is there a new Apes movie? Like, I just don't know that that's a thing. But I do think it'll do really well this summer. So yeah, I have.
I'm definitely hoping for it too.
Yeah. ChatGPT, what's your number 6?
This summer, ride along with the bike riders as they throttle through danger in the open road. Expect adrenaline, conflict, and a box office ride of a lifetime.
All right, the bike riders.
That's a
Thank
weird
you,
one.
Don Fontaine.
That's literally what I put down. I said, can you please give me this list again as Don LaFontaine?
Fantastic.
What a pick, ChatGPT. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, the Bike Riders was originally supposed to be Oscar bait this last year. Like, it was originally a fall movie that was supposed to come out. It has, I'm guessing ChatGPT is basing this on the Austin factor.
stars?
Austin Butler and Tom
Yeah.
Hardiness of it all.
Yeah. Not terrible logic. I just, man, I don't see this breaking 100 domestic, but who knows? Maybe it'll be some sort of dramatic
It does look
hit.
more like a genre film than anything. Like a.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm intrigued by this pick and from the movie itself. So I'll keep
This,
an eye on
I'm
it.
not going to lie. Well, coming from me, and what my theories on everything look like. I have Borderlands at number 3. But this is what I would say is ChatGPT's most wild pick.
It is.
The rest of them
for
seem
sure
pretty
so
tame.
far.
This
Yeah.
one's very weird.
This is interesting.
Maybe
This is-
it thinks that this is going to be the sound of freedom of this year.
Maybe. I don't know. This is one of those things where if like the Bike Riders makes the top 10, then all of us are like, well, just take me to my new leaders.
Yeah. I was really stoked to see the Bike Riders. Like you said, Aaron, this looks like it has like Oscar bait written all over it.
Yeah, it was. I still don't know the full story as to why it got pushed to this year and why it became a summer movie. Like it's a really. I just think they didn't have a lot of faith in its awards chances and wanted to give it a chance to make more money. I
wonder if they wanted to wait until after Dune 2 had come out and like Austin had gotten maybe a little bit more of grace back from
that's not
not
a bad-
being
it's not a bad theory.
Elvis.
It's not a bad
And
theory.
this,
then- Yeah.
Fade
this one
Rotha.
opens on. This one opens on June 21st, opposite Kinds of Kindness, which is Yorgos's next film. But that's a weekend where it has potentially plenty of runway to do something.
Yeah.
So maybe. That could be
all
a
right.
surprise.
Number 7's Ormsby, kick us off. What's your number 7?
This is where I have A Quiet Place day one.
Okay. All right.
It's one of those where I was like, I don't know if I could put it lower than this because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think A Quiet Place 2 made more money than the first Quiet Place movie did.
Oh, it sure did.
It's that second movie franchise bump, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
but that doesn't apply to the third one. It's not. Like, if you look at
It
the
then
history
goes,
of the third
"Meow."
movies, it dips. Yeah. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Well, maybe I should have swapped it for something else, but I can't do that now. So
John, what do you got at number 7?
This is where I have Furiosa, which I believe is the lowest anyone has put it at number 7. I'm a little less optimistic than the rest of you, but yeah, equally excited. I'm excited to see. This is another spin-off, right? Because it's not technically a sequel. I don't think Charlize is
it's a
coming
prequel.
back. It's a prequel. Yeah, so I mean, that could factor in. If Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron aren't in it, maybe people are slightly less enthused about seeing it, but the allure,
But it has
I
Chris
think,
Hemsworth, and he's a charismatic man, isn't he?
I think the allure of that setting and those sort of highly saturated explosions is going to put butts in seats. But
I also wonder if there's potentially like, oh, this could be the movie where Chris Hemsworth really acts, you know, and so then people are interested to go see that.
yeah, I mean, I think truthfully, and this is probably not to speak for you guys, but I feel like the middle of this list, like these 4 to 7s, these could go in any order. This is the least confident part of my list. Where like the 8, 9, and 10, I'm kind of confident those aren't going to get any higher. And the 1, 2, and 3, I'm really confident those will be up there. But this middle stuff, this is all going to be right around that $150-200 million range, and it could go any way, really.
Just throwing the shade at Rush, man. Chris Hemsworth was acting in that movie.
yeah,
We've already
I
seen
mean,
him
since he became gigantic and has been in things like Extraction and Extraction 2.
Have you seen Bad Times at the El Royale? Come on, he's amazing.
Oh, that's true. Okay, I take it all back. I take it all back.
that movie's so
Cabin
good.
in the
Such
Woods.
a good film. Okay, that was so long ago. I might as well say Home and Away at this point, which none of you would understand the reference, but that's how I first.
In
got
the Heart of the
introduced to him.
Sea. Okay, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
At this point.
yeah.
I was
All
gonna
right,
say,
let's calm down. Let's
Now
calm
you're
all
now
the
you're
way
stretching
right
there, Aaron.
Yeah.
All right. I think, Alice, we're to your number 7. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. So this is another one where I was like, there's just been so much marketing for a really long time. And that is If.
Mhm.
You know, I think
yeah.
it's like, it's one of those movies I think it can go across market. It could be a 4-quadrant film because it's Ryan Reynolds and it's John Krasinski, you know, but also everyone John Krasinski knows is going to be in this movie.
Yeah, the cast list for this movie, I mean, it's all voice cast, but it is
like, I think
crazy.
honestly it has a same sort of vibe as like Inside Out 2, you know, where it's like the same sort of people could honestly go see this while they wait for Inside Out 2 to come out because it's touching on a nostalgic thing about growing up. Again, Ryan Reynolds is in it. The animation looks good. Honestly, it looks wholesome. I want to go see it. And it's had so much marketing. And that's just because Ryan Reynolds is a genius and he owns Maximum Effort, which is very, very good at this sort of thing. So we shall see.
I think one of the other things that we don't talk enough about is the absolute dearth of quality in the live action family entertainment category. They're just these movies don't exist anymore. It's if you have to bring your kids to the films, to the theaters, you have the choice between whatever Illumination is put out and nothing. There's not a lot of choices anymore. My kids and I watched Honey, I Shrunk the Kids recently, and they loved it. And I was kind of like, when was the last time you had like a good live action adventure film for the whole family? And I don't know that If is necessarily it, but it comes as close as anything we've seen in a long time because everything else on our calendar this year for kids, Despicable Me, Garfield, Inside Out 2, they're all Harold and the Purple Crayon. Those are all movies that feel, I don't know, more to like the younger demo, whereas If feels like this is a good movie for like the 6 to 12-year-old market, and they don't get enough movies, that group.
Yeah.
So it could do well.
First mention of If is happening. At my number 7, I'm going to give our second mention, I believe, of the Garfield movie. I think I agree with what Alice had to say about the Garfield movie. I would even say there was a second where I was like, this could be a top 5 movie this summer. This, like, if it hits right, it just has that potential. However, I don't think it's going to hit perfect.
I don't think Garfield has the IP clout that Mario does.
I do not either.
Garfield has been part of the zeitgeist in 20 years. Like, when was the last time he was relevant in a way that was interesting?
So if it'll be this summer, John. It'll be this summer.
Yeah.
It could.
When was the last time Barbie was? When was the last time Barbie was relevant before the Barbie movie came out?
It's a very good point.
Yeah, but this doesn't feel like the Barbie movie. I put it here because there's potential, and I wanted to activate that potential. And I think it could. I think it'll break 100. I just think these family movies, where it's just easy to take your kids to, they can make bank so quickly. So yeah, I have it at number 7.
And imagine if it's good.
I mean, imagine.
Imagine.
ChatGPT, what do you have at number 7?
Silence returns as your greatest ally. A Quiet Place Day 1 takes you back to the terrifying beginning of Silence. Listen carefully, as audiences everywhere will be holding their breath at the theaters.
All right. Thank you, ChatGPT.
Once again, in agreement with the robot. Okay. Thank you very much. Both had that at number... no, actually, I'm sorry. I had it number 6, but...
Yeah.
I'm starting to think that John's actually ChatGPT in human form. He's like
Oh my God, is this a Turing test? Is this a Turing test that you're failing, John?
I would please don't ask any follow-up questions. I'm not prepared to answer.
Listen, guys, I don't think we realize how close we are to AI podcast hosts, like video and audio. Audio, it's already a thing. People are already doing it, but like we are not far away from the video technology to have
I've seen some of that.
co-host.
Like the folks over at Synthesia are doing these like video avatars, and you feed it dialogue, and it'll spit it out. And now it's learning context, where if you write a sad passage, it knows to emote its robot face to be a little forlorn when it's reading sad text. It's the technology is a little scary.
Well, Aaron and I have mentioned this. I think it was last podcast, but if you watch the reality show The Circle this year, there's an artificial intelligence in the game, and I don't know, Aaron, if you're fully caught up on The Circle.
I am fully caught up. It is the absolute best thing about this season and worst thing because they took it away, and I don't understand. Like, they had it
probably
just
because
there
it was getting too scary.
Well, I mean, it owned the contestants. Like, nobody says, like, they knew there was an AI, and their job was to figure out who the AI was, and nobody suspected the actual AI. It was wild. I wish they would have let it continue to compete, because I think it would have won. I think it would have won the game.
It would have won. I was same boat as you.
They may bring it back. They may bring it back at some point, but we'll see. All right, so that is through number 7. I think we're on to our number 8. Andrew, what do you got at number 8?
Number 8, this is where I have the Fall Guy. Probably a little low, because this comes out...
Has anybody else mentioned it but me?
Oh, I thought everybody else had mentioned it already.
I don't think so.
I haven't yet.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No, you're only at number 2, actually, which is surprising, because I feel like this will make a lot of money, especially since it opens first, May 2nd. This is the first one.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, probably why I felt like everybody had it higher than me, because it just seems like it's that type of movie that would be a big blockbuster. So yeah, Emily Blunt, Ryan Gosling, that's just star power, and the chemistry between them and the trailers looks great. It's going to make a lot of money.
John, what is your number 8?
This is where I have double checking the Fall Guy. Yeah.
All right.
Kind of echo everything we've already said. I think Ryan Gosling alone, his charisma could pull this into a winner, if nothing else. And I think the trailer has been very successful. I think it's it's a few trailers I've seen this season, and I'm like, oh, this made me want to see a movie I wasn't aware of before.
Yeah.
Rarely is that the case for me.
Alice, your number 8?
This is a movie where the only reference I have to the franchise is that, have you ever shot your gun in the air and screamed, ah? Because Bad Boys.
Nice.
Bad Boys 4. Bad Boys 4, because even though I don't understand, because I've never seen it, because I'm at the wrong, I feel, generation and potentially gender, It is
Yes to both.
insanely successful because I was like, how much could the third one have possibly made? A lot. A lot is the
It was
answer
the
to
number
that
one
question.
movie of 2020.
Yeah, and I mean,
It has that distinction.
Yeah, it's a distinction to have, I guess. But I actually think the slap could work in its favor because it's one of those things where it's like there's no such thing as bad publicity. And so I feel like out of pure curiosity, a lot of people might go to see Will Smith in a film like this since the slap. Maybe he'll slap someone in the film. That would be so interesting, wouldn't it?
I don't know
into
if that
that?
would be in good taste.
Well, it's Bad Boys 4, you know. Like,
Yeah.
The word bad is right in the title, Andrew. Come
yeah,
on.
they're bad boys.
That's
They're not
true.
good boys.
No, Good Boys is a different
Bad
movie.
That
There's
is-
also
that's
the
a good movie.
possibility that certain audiences turn out in a sort of supportive, like anti-cancel culture. They're like, I
Yeah.
like Will Smith. I'm not going to let you cancel him. So I'm going to. There's people that will not see the movie because of what he did, and others that will see it
And then they'll
explicitly because
cancel
they
each
wanna,
other out.
right, and they want to see it just to say that like you don't have control over what gets canceled, and like a protest view, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
yeah.
know.
Aaron, what you got?
My number 8. This is where I have. This is where I have added the $S. I have Twisters at
Nice.
number 8. I think this movie could be number 3. I think it could bomb. I have no clue how this movie, because I think of Glenn Powell and how hot he is and how how well Top Gun Maverick performed, and this is kind of that same like 3-decade nostalgia
Yeah, sure.
kind of thing, you know, where it's like this was 30 years ago and we're bringing it back for the first time that Top Gun Maverick had, and then I'm just thinking, yeah, but it's tornadoes. Like, I mean, I
I'm
don't.
also like, I understand that he was in Anyone But You, and I understand that he was in Top Gun Maverick, but was he the driver of either of those films? You know what I mean? Like,
I
maybe
think-
a little
No, but he
bit more
came
in
out looking
Anyone But
pretty good.
You. Yeah, absolutely. But I do still, I think the Sydney Sweeney effect, I think that was a whole thing with Anyone But You, and then with Top Gun Maverick, there's a bit of a Scientology shape, you know, like man, that was probably a bit more of a driver.
A
there.
Scientology-shaped man.
Those are all great points. I placed it 4th with Andrew.
Yeah.
But I think personally, I'm most excited to see Twisters more than like any other, just out of curiosity, because that's the one that I know that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is probably going to be pretty good. I have a feeling Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be exactly what we want it to be. Twisters is a bit of a question mark. Like, could this be as fun
It
as I
could
want
be a
it?
twist, if you
It
will.
could, absolutely. And I love the original, and but there's nobody. Bill Paxton's not coming back. Helen Hunt's not coming back. So
Oh, yeah, no, he's not
Is the
coming back.
premise alone enough to get people excited? It is. I'm excited for it, and I think that's why I placed it a little higher.
Yeah, you guys could absolutely be right. This is one of those movies where I just didn't know where to place it, so I throw it here because I'm bound to get like 3 or 4 points from it. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna be within a few slots of it if it does well, which I think it will. So yeah, I had Twisters at number 8. ChatGPT, what do you got at number 8?
They're bad. They're boys. They're black. Bad Boys Ride or Die hits the streets in a high-octane sequel that's sure to draw crowds and explode box office records. I know about that, ChatGPT.
All right.
Bad Boys, Ride or Die, ChatGPT has at number 8. Well, let's take a look. Before we get into our final 2 of the top 10, what are the big surprises in our first 8 picks? We've got 5
Borderlands.
picks left. Well, listen, I wasn't going to call out the Borderlands pick, but that is one that only one person has mentioned. I think If is another one that only one person has mentioned.
So far, right?
Any others that only one person has mentioned?
I think everything I've picked, ChatGPT has, well, except for the Fall Guy, but I know we have talked about that.
The Bike Riders. ChatGPT picked the Bike Riders. Nobody else has
Yep.
mentioned that. But I think that's it. Other than that, I think we kind of have.
I think there.
at least
When I
some
was
crossover.
doing this research, and I'm sure you felt the same way. There's definitely 14 or 15 films that are unquestionably going to be the top 13 or 14 films. We might get a dark horse like The Sound of Freedom, but I think we're all going to get like 9 out of 10 of these in our top 10. It's just a question of the ranking. But I think the 10 movies that are going to be the top 10 are, I think by all accounts, pretty safe guess it's going to be one of these movies. We have, out of our respective lists of 8, we have, what, maybe 12 unique films so far? Like, yeah, there hasn't been a ton of variety, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to number 9. Ormsby, what do you got at number 9?
Okay, coming in at number 9. Wow. I'm surprised by my own list. Yeah.
Are you sure you actually did it, Andrew?
Alien Romulus.
Oh,
okay.
All
All
right.
right, take it back
August
about the variety.
pick.
That is a wild pick.
Yeah.
Why do you like that?
August
When does that come
boy.
out?
August 16th.
August.
Wow. Okay. All
You got a
right.
fortnight to make some waves. Why do you think it will?
Because it's Alien.
That's fair. I mean, the brand alone will get it, somewhere. It'll get it.
Literally, the story I was telling about the dollar sign is from this franchise, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Indeed.
So yeah.
The question is, does anybody care anymore? I guess we'll find out.
I guess we will find out. Look, Andrew, if nothing else, you have a couple picks on your list now that you could
Imagine.
absolutely gloat over if they happen. Like if
It could be You're
Alien
the Meg.
in border. Listen, the Meg was that was not a wild guess on my part. The Meg
Aaron.
was.
Yes, it was.
No, it's a big shark movie. I knew people would love it.
People like
anyway.
it in China. I don't know that people care in this country.
Yeah.
anymore
No,
about the
I
big
think
shark.
Alice is. Maybe
They-
she's not. I thought
they
she was
cared
referencing
enough.
me putting the Meg at number 10 and it
Yeah.
landing at number 10 and me
And
winning.
that's how you got
the-
your win.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it could be that kind of thing for you.
Personally, I'm so burnt out on the Alien franchise because they've had so many disparate like spin-offs and prequels and whatever that I don't like. Where does Romulus fit in the hierarchy of this like 8-picture franchise? I don't really know. I don't
Pretty
really
sure
care.
this is
but-
Ripley's daughter.
Do you not
Okay,
like
like-
the
Yes.
recent ones?
It's like, isn't it set like before Alien 3, but after Alien 2?
That's what I mean. Like
something
this
that?
conversation
Like,
is.
it's
I'm already
weird.
checked out. I don't care.
That's fair. That's fair.
But that's
I
how
went to
that's
go watch
my-
the trailer,
personally.
and then I didn't watch the trailer.
Yeah, right.
Don't you think that there's going to be a good amount of people who are going, it's a new Alien movie, let's go
Oh,
check
for
it
sure.
out.
For sure, yes.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
it
it'll
will
make-
definitely make money.
That's
I don't
why I
know
have
if
it
it's
at number
top 10,
9.
It'll make 50, 60 million dollars domestically.
And but this is going to be a depressed summer. That might be enough to crack the top 10 or top 12.
We'll see. John, what do you got at number 9?
This is where I have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and I am the last person to mention it, which makes me feel bad because I'm actually a big proponent and big supporter of this franchise. I love the original 5 entries from the 60s and 70s, but I think without any of the connective tissue of the last trilogy, this really does feel like a soft reboot of sorts with no new recurring characters, no new returning characters. I think maybe people will be like, I can skip this. I'll wait. I don't need to go see it. But yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out. This is opening early, May 10th, so it has the whole summer to potentially kind of slowly, make money in week 8, 9, and 10.
Especially if it's good. If it's
Yeah,
really
that-
good.
that absolutely is
Yeah.
a big question mark here. Is
Yep.
if it's great, it could make a ton of money. But if it's like, probably.
I
not.
hope it's great. I really hope
I do
it's
too.
great.
I really, and I think it will be. The last few have had such a good track record that this could be. And you get to see apes riding on horses, which is like it's such a consistently provocative image.
Yeah, it's so
that
iconic.
I'm always going to be like lean forward for that kind of thing.
Yeah, I recently watched all the old ones and enjoyed myself quite a bit. I really like this franchise.
You mean like when you say old?
The original
60s,
ones?
60s
the
and
OG,
70s.
the OG
Yeah,
5.
Yeah, right.
It's so interesting. Those first 5, there may have been a 2-year gap between the first 2, but then it was every year. There was an Apes movie every year, and
That is how movies used to work.
Yeah, and I was just like, wow, that's impressive.
Now it's like 2, 3, 10. Who knows?
Who knows?
You might get a
James
sequel.
Cameron, 20 years. Alice, what is your number 9?
Well, I'm the last. Am I the last? No, I'm the third to fall for this guy, even though I'm technically the first because I've already seen it. And it's really good. So, the Fall Guy. Because
I don't know how to feel about the person who's seen it having it down at number 9 when I've got it at number 4.
I mean, all I can go back is on my experience, and it was so good it had to be on my list. It would have been anyway, okay? So don't worry. I very much doubt I'm gonna win. So don't worry, guys. Okay? Let me have this. For once, I got to see a movie a few weeks before you guys, and it was very good.
You should gloat about that. That's cool.
Yeah, I will know very, very quickly if that zag is going to pay off. Like within a week, I will know, because if it doesn't make 100 billion its opening weekend, then I probably put it too high. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So glad you got it on the list at number 9.
A good quick sidebar, if you don't mind the detour. Of all the movies we've mentioned, which do you think is most likely to have sort of the long tail victory, where it doesn't necessarily open strong but holds really well? Something like Elemental last year, Sound of Freedom famously just kept getting second place for a month. Are there any movies here that maybe don't open in first but hold out long enough to make a list?
Don't open
I actually
in
think
first?
The Fall Guy could be one. It's such a. Again, I'm obviously using insider information here, having seen the film, but it is a film that you would I really want to go see it again. Also, because Aaron Taylor Johnson's in it, and he's probably almost definitely going to be Bond. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, right.
And, Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt's really great. And also, I think there's this, very much needed love for stunts, and the fact that they are still being so mistreated by the Academy.
For sure.
And so I feel like that is a huge pull as well.
All right. So we're on number 9.
Aaron?
I got If. This is where I have If at number 9. I think I'm the second person to mention this movie.
Alice had it at number 7.
Alice. You had it at number 7, John?
Mm-hmm.
No, Alice did.
Alice had it at number 7. Yeah, we're kind of on the same wavelength, Alice, with these family movies. I just think there's just more potential for them to do. Even if they do mid numbers, they're still going to make money. You know what I mean? Even if they're a medium success, they're going to make 100 million. And so If looks really great. It's Ryan Reynolds.
And everyone else.
And everyone else. But
I wanted to bring up one other thing that I haven't mentioned yet, but this is a good opportunity too. So the world can be quite depressing, yes, especially nowadays. And I feel like movies that make us believe in humanity again are very sorely needed. And so I think things like Inside Out and If could be that, especially amongst all these depressing films that are coming out. It could be that little wholesome light in the dark to keep you going. I don't know. That's
that might be part of the appeal of Barbie last year, is that people wanted something to feel good and something that had musical numbers and not. But at the same token, the same exact day, people watched a 3-hour biopic about the atomic bomb.
Yeah, because you got to get depressed and then you got to feel better. So
I think that was part of the success of that counter programming. It wasn't just demographically it appealed to two groups. It appealed to two different emotions, and that might be the lesson that Hollywood does not learn, but one they should have. What about our resident?
One of the comps I used for If was Free Guy, because it's like a Ryan Reynolds fronted original property. How many people came out just to see him be goofy kind of things, and that made 130 domestically, and it came out in the middle of August. So, it's...
And this comes out May 17th. So this has time.
I just think there's a real potential here just on the Ryan Reynolds factor alone for this movie to do well. He's
a huge box office draw. He's just so very good at the marketing of himself and also everything around him.
It's surprising that he still is a box office draw, because you would think by now people would start to tire of his shtick and be like, I don't really care. And he's going to have Deadpool and Wolverine just a month later. Or maybe 2 months later, anyway. So maybe people don't. I don't know. I feel like some people should be getting sick of. I'm not personally, but
he's the love of my life.
I have heard that mentioned that people are starting to get tired of it.
I do not tire of most of the things that I love. I could eat
we
pizza
share the
every
same
meal every day.
We're soulmates, so I'll never tire of it.
Nice.
Well, let's check in with our resident robot friend.
ChatGPT, what do you got at 9?
This summer, the hunt is on. Kraven the Hunter stalks his way onto the big screen, bringing superhero fans a thrilling chase that will captivate and conquer the box office.
All
No,
right,
this
Chat
is the Equalizer 3. This is the Equalizer 3.
ChatGPT, you've lost the plot a little bit.
No. Doesn't it come out like August?
August
Yeah.
30th. This comes out that Labor Day weekend.
This has
So-
one weekend. This is ChatGPT's weakness last time too. Was it didn't it could not fathom how the rules of the game worked. So yeah, even if this is a huge hit, it won't make the top 10.
I think more importantly, this will not be a huge hit.
Yeah, I mean, how much money did
this-
Madam Web actually pull in? Wasn't it like $11 million or something? Like
That's the thing. The Sonyverse has not had any wins, I think, since except for the animated Spider-Man movies. I think this is going to do very badly. If this opened tomorrow, I don't think it would get top 10 of the summer. Like this, you could have 3 months of runway and still not take off. I don't know. I'm interested personally to see it because I'll watch any comic book movie, even if it's Madam Web. I don't know. I feel like people don't care about this franchise anymore. This like
40
Marvel
million.
adjacent.
40 million domestically is what Madam Web made.
This is the one pick from ChatGPT that I was like, okay, yeah, you're still a robot. I still feel comfortable. We still got
Andrew,
a few more years.
Andrew, I know you personally like the Kraven character and the comic books. Are you personally excited to see this movie, or you kind of don't even care?
Honestly, the most appealing thing about this movie is the Aaron Taylor Johnson aspect of it, just because I think that he is a very charismatic guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's really good. Honestly, if you want Kraven the Hunter, just go play Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
a story, probably. I'd assume.
All right, let's do our number 10s. Andrew, kick us off.
Number 10, way low compared to everybody else's, where I have Despicable Me 4.
Ooh. Yeah, okay.
That is pretty low. I think you're the last one to mention it by quite a
bananas.
few rounds, actually, because the next lowest was Alice at 4th.
Yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I just don't know the draw power of the Despicable Me franchise. Like I said, guys, when it comes to box office numbers, I am dog doo-doo. So
I think if you swap this with your Borderlands pick at 3, you'd be pretty okay. But those two, to me, feel like absolutely in the wrong spot.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not looking for help here. I should have done that a long time ago.
That's fair.
All right, John, what's your number 10?
This is where I have Imaginary Friends.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, Awkwafina's in it, and she has been on a roll, for better or worse, with all of her voice acting roles. They seem to all... And Migration, I thought would be like, who's going to turn out for this? And made a ton of money.
Yeah.
Just picking winners.
Yep. Alice, your number 10?
You'll notice that I did not make fun of Andrew for his Borderlands pick, and that's because my number 10 is Borderlands.
All right.
Because I also think this will actually feed in quite nicely, because I think there's this like video game optimism, adaptation optimism happening because of the success. Obviously, yes, we had Dune, which is a deserty thing, and then Fallout has been doing so well. And it's like, oh my God, video games can be adapted well. And then this is like going to feed into that. But I also think that people are very curious about this one because it's been in production for so long. So I think it could make a bit of money in that opening sort of moment. And then if it's really bad, it'll taper off from there. But it's August, so I don't care if it tapers off after September. So.
See, Alice is kind of in the same mindset as to why I had it so high, is because I'm coming straight off of Fallout, and I'm like, the popularity with this genre, if this is now Amazon's #1 show ever, and it's only been out for 2 weeks, what does that say for the draw power for this genre? What does it say for the draw power of video game adaptations? So I wasn't just willy-nilly with my pick when I picked it at number 3. Did I forget that it came out in the middle of August? Maybe, but we're not going to talk about that.
My number 10 has been mentioned a couple times already. Bad Boys, Ride or Die. It's interesting. I think, John, did you have it the highest?
I think so. I had Bad Boys at number 5. I do. Think
Yeah.
well.
You had it way up there, and as you were talking, I was like, yeah, I should have put this higher. My debate was whether to put it in my top 10 at all. And the logic I used to put it in my top 10 was the logic of just the comps. Just the Bad Boys movies do well. There's also demographic things that make this, movie very attractive on a money level. Like, I just think this movie's going to do better than expected. And now I'm thinking I should have had it a little bit higher, but I made sure I got it on my list. So if it does well, I should get a couple points from it at least.
Yeah.
But,
so the last installment, which was the sort of legacy sequel 20 years late, Bad Boys for Life, opened January of 2020. January, and it made $200 million domestic.
yeah.
This is going to open June 7th, right at the peak of summer, a week after Memorial Day. I think this could do really well. Again, if people are okay with Will Smith again.
Yeah. I don't think I genuinely
Yeah,
don't.
I think it'll be kind of a
people care.
non-factor.
Yeah, of all the judging the art by the artist conversations we have, I don't think people even care about the Will Smith thing. But maybe I'm wrong. Let's see, ChatGPT. How did your list end up? What did you have at number 10?
Hold on tight as Twisters takes you into the eye of the storm. A thrill ride that will sweep through the box office with the force of nature itself.
All right, ChatGPT finishing off with Twisters. Is that so? Let's look at our top 10. What movies do all of us have? Let's see. Alice didn't have Twisters.
No, she
Everybody.
I think, did everybody have Furiosa? Yes. Did everybody have Quiet Place?
No.
Yes.
No, I didn't have Quiet Place.
Did everybody have The Fall Guy?
Fall Guy.
No.
Nope. ChatGPT didn't have the Fall Guy.
And everybody, I think, had Despicable Me 4. Am I right? Those are the 5? We all had Deadpool, Inside Out, Furiosa, Apes, and Despicable Me. Those 5 were on all 5 lists.
There you go. Those are the 5 that made all of our lists.
A bit more parody than I would have thought, but I bet if you counted how many are on at least 4 lists, you get to probably 7 or 8 movies.
Yeah. All right. Let's hit our wild cards. We'll go one at a time. Andrew, what's your first wild card?
My first wild card, I'm going to go with the Bike Riders. Just
Okay.
because it's coming out early enough, and if Austin, this is my test. This is why I have it as a wild card to see what kind of draw Austin Butler's has.
Okay.
Butler
John,
has.
what do you have at your first wild card?
I mentioned it briefly earlier. Harold and the Purple Crayon. I think this is a very popular children's book, and this could be a big family pull. This comes out late in the season, August 2nd, and there's not a lot available in August for kids, so it'll have sort of that demographic that entire month all to itself.
Okay. All right. Alice, your number 1 wild card?
Look, I'm really picking a dumb one, but I really do think there's a chance for Beetlejuice. It's
not
my
even-
wild card.
That's not even on my calendar because I think that opens too late.
That opens in
Isn't it
September.
Isn't it the first weekend of September? Doesn't that
No,
count?
I think that's the second weekend.
It's the second weekend of
I think
September.
It's outside of
I
eligibility.
don't
It is
know
not
how
even
your
on my-
American calendar. Although I was right then. Okay, I'll rejig. I'll rejig then.
Okay.
I will.
Wait. Are we allowing her to repick on the fly? Or do
Yeah.
we
We'll allow it. It's
punish
wild.
her for
The
not
wrong
knowing how to
day.
read a
No,
calendar? Like,
let her have
Well, you
it.
meant
Come
like
on,
the
Aaron.
first full
Listen.
weekend
I
in
haven't voted yet.
September.
I haven't voted yet. I'm just putting the question out there. Of course,
rude.
you can change, Alice. Of course you can.
Thank you. Okay, well then in that case, I'll go with my number 2 pick first, which is Horizon: An American Saga Part 1.
Okay.
Because it's such a weird thing that's existing, isn't it? And like the fact that that's coming out and then the second one's coming out, like it could do really well, especially in anticipation of the second one if it's still in theaters. So we'll see.
All right. So first, I'm going to move Bad Boys Ride or Die to my 8. And then, because I misread the calendar. So
Not allowed. Objection.
all right. My wild card number 1 is the same as Alice. I was so excited because I thought I'd get to mention this movie first, but Alice beat me to it.
Because I made a mistake.
Because she made a mistake. Horizon Part 1. My goal with wild cards is to pick the movies that have potential, even if I don't think they're going to realize that potential. And that is Horizon to me in a nutshell. This movie has potential to blow up. Like, if it's amazing, like, you don't think people are going to want to see Kevin Costner do Western? Like, people, do you not remember that Yellowstone is one of the most watched shows in the
Yeah.
history of television?
Literally.
This.
So crazy.
So this movie could explode, but I don't think it's going to. But I wanted it in my wild
This
cards.
is so long. It's
so,
a saga,
yeah.
if you will. Yeah.
Ormsby, what is your first? Or sorry, ChatGPT. Actually, what's your first wild card?
The Crow. Classic. Really. The original was iconic. If they do it right, keep stylish, dark, people are going to go love it. It draws crowds for sure.
Did you say The Crow? All right, a first mention of The Crow. I do not see this happening, but
that comes out.
Neither
August
do
20th.
I want to make that
August
very clear. I
23rd,
don't
so
see this
very-
happening either.
Very late in the year, August 23rd.
Yeah.
And I don't know that the IP has enough appeal to get anybody excited.
Yeah, I don't think so. ChatGPT, you are falling off. You started well. You really did this year, but definitely fallen off, in my opinion. All right, Ormsby, what's your second wild card?
The Crow.
Let's move on to the next part then.
Awkward.
drag the
John?
robot.
What a
John?
dumb decision. Oh my god, who would ever decide
man.
that?
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Wild card 2 is where I put Garfield. I think this, if the IP still has clout, this could do really well. But I don't know that anyone under 40 even knows who Garfield is, truthfully. Like my kids don't know
Orange
what it is.
cat. What do you need to know? It's an orange
That's the
cat.
thing. Not necessarily. This is a movie I could take my kids to, but it's not an IP my kids know of. Whereas Inside Out, they know about, and they're excited for that. So,
Yeah.
just from my own sort of insular perspective, my family's more excited for the other movies in the family category, like Despicable Me and Inside Out, and not for the Orange Cat Who Hates Mondays.
Alice, what is your second wild card?
So my second one is also going off the possibility of people being like, Alien? And so Alien Romulus. Because who knows? Who knows?
It could
right?
do well.
It could. It really could. And it probably won't. But it could. And that's
But it could. My second wild card has been mentioned, Quiet Place Day One. I think everybody else had it in their 10. I've already mentioned, I think this movie might bomb. I'm leaning that way. It just doesn't feel connected enough to the previous two movies,
Right.
for people to be super excited about it. But I know there's potential there, and so I wanted to put it in wild card because if it hits, it's going to hit. But
I noticed Alice does not have it on her list at all.
Oh, I thought I was the only one that didn't have it.
No,
I
I had
don't
it at
have it.
6. Andrew and the robot had it at 7, and then you have it as a wild card.
Okay, all right. ChatGPT, what's your second wild card?
The Fall Guy, action-packed, full of thrills. If you've got great actors, people who really draw the eye, it's going to be very, very successful. People love a good action film.
All right.
And with that, everyone has now picked the Fall Guy somewhere on their list.
All right. ChatGPT finally getting into the Fall Guy game. All right. We're finishing it off. This is your last chance to get some points. Andrew, what do you got for your third wild card?
I'll just say this straight up front. For my last pick, this is a movie I just want to do well. It comes out later. It comes out, I think, August 9th. But I'm going to go with Trap. I love Shyamalan, and I want this movie to do well.
That's the new one with Josh Hartnett, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the trailer, but I already forgot the title. I'm excited for that. I was intrigued. I saw the trailer and came away more interested, which is a successful trailer. And you're absolutely right. In August, there's not a lot of strong competition. I mean, we talked about Alien, Romulus, The Crow, and Craven, and Horizon Chapter 2, but not a lot of options. I think those are all kind of okay choices. This could totally be a sleeper hit coming into the end of the summer.
Yep.
It's a good pick.
John, what is your third wild card?
This is where I have Horizon Chapter 1. And I think the Chapter 1, I originally put Chapter 2, and then I ran my list by my wife, and she's like, don't you mean the first one? And I was like, you're right. The second one will never make more money because people are going to be more curious, and then there will be a bit of
Drop
Second
off.
one also comes out August 16th.
Yeah, there will be some what is it called, attrition, where people aren't going to follow
Yes.
up and watch the second one. But yeah, Yellowstone. The boomers are going to eat this up. My mom is going to want to go see a Kevin Costner western. And
There's
I
an
think
interesting.
that's a demo not to be underlooked.
I agree, and I mentioned the Yellowstone thing. There's also a world, John, where it works the opposite way, where
Yes.
part one is such a hit. People
Yes.
love it so much that the word of mouth bumps part two. Like, but you're right. It doesn't seem like anybody would watch part two without watching part one, right?
Especially since they're so close together. Whereas, like with Avatar 2, okay, I could see you would only go to see the
Right.
sequel. But with this, the original is going to still be in theaters. They're only 6 weeks apart.
So the question then would become repeat viewings. Would there be enough repeat viewings of the second part where people will only watch the first part once that it would somehow make more money than the first part? Doesn't seem likely, but it could happen.
It'll be really interesting to see, a year from now, how well they did and how well they did in comparison to each other. Were they at like 100 million and 95 million, or were they 100 million and 60 million?
Yeah,
Like, how
right.
far apart will these two? This is the first time we've seen a sequel released so close to its predecessor. It'll be
What was
very
the
interesting.
What were the two Matrix movies? How far apart were they? They were
6
more like
months.
6 months, right?
6 months. Same with Back to the Future. That was 6 months apart, 2 and 3. And the Lord of the Rings were all 12 months apart. Yeah, I can't remember the last time a movie came out 6 weeks after its original. Netflix did those Fear Street movies, and they released those like every month for a summer, but those were straight to streaming. So
Those are Netflix, yeah.
Alice, your third wild card.
Well, I mean, I don't know why none of you have picked this movie yet. It's pretty obvious that Twister, which, by the way, it's Twister, not Twisters. According to IMDb, it's Twister.
Well, there's Twister was the original one that came out in
the
95.
2024 one. It says original title Twisters, and now it's called Twister. Wait, for those, there you go. Look on IMDb.
No, that's not.
So
I can't
anyway,
say that.
obviously that's a movie that everyone has to have on their list.
I'm not calling
And
it
they'd be
X, and I'm
silly.
not calling that Twister. I'm sorry.
It'd be silly not to have that on your list, right? So of course I'm gonna have it on
I'm
my
sorry.
list. As I
We are
originally planned.
officially derailing the podcast. I am not letting this sit. Like, what? Did they really change
they
the
didn't.
name to Twisters?
The poster still says Twisters, but then my IMDb says Twister.
Yeah, but you're at imdb.au, and sometimes they change movies for.
Okay, well then I shall go to my cinema app. So stand by for that.
What does it say on Letterboxd? Because that is the end-all, be-all as far as movie
Yeah,
titles
I
are
don't
concerned,
see
in my
anything
opinion.
about this movie being named Twister.
Well,
It might be a local,
no.
regional thing for Australia only, and that's okay.
On my cinema app, it's still Twisters, so I don't know what's happening. But IMDb has decided that it is called Twister. Look, see it there. It's
I
not a lie.
believe you, but I'm saying it's because you're in another country, and sometimes movies get weird titles. Like John, the Rambo films have all been named something else in every country but America, which is very confusing.
I would understand that. It's like how Neighbours, that movie with Zac Efron
Yeah.
and Seth Rogen over here is called Bad Neighbours because we have the show. But
Right.
we don't have anything called Twisted unless we have the game. Like, anyway. Twisters is my third wild card.
Oh, that's another one of those movies that up until now was only on 4 lists. So that's another one that went 5 for 5 across our lists.
Nice. Gonna give my friend Mr. Ormsby some backup. My third wild card is also M. Night Shyamalan's Trap. And again, it's the potential thing. I mean, M. Night has the potential for his movies to make 300 million. He just does. Like, if it hits, it hits. And I can see that movie making, 100 million, 150 million its first weekend, and then continuing to make good numbers the next 3 weekends. Like, it has. Well, maybe it has a total of 3 weekends. I can't remember. It's either 3 or 4 weekends to make money, and that's usually where most of movies are.
August
make their
9th
money.
is, I think, safely in play. I mean, that you have 4 full weekends.
And I think the biggest thing is, like you said, there's not a lot of competition the rest of the summer. So, yeah, I think Trap, if it hits, if people have fun talking about it together and telling their friends about it, I think it really could land in the top 10. So I wanted to get it in my wild card. Don't know that it will, but I think it could. ChatGPT, finish us off. What is your final wild card?
Maxine.
Oh no.
Following up on a successful series, very clever, very niche. It's got its audience who love these kinds of films. Not the biggest blockbuster, but it'll do well. Very solid.
I gotta love it when ChatGPT backs up its pick in a box office contest by going very niche. That's always great logic to pick a movie for the competition.
I mean, the original X and Pearl were both well received, but they only made like 15 million.
Yeah.
And I think this is the kind of film that'll probably get a really good cult audience and maybe do well on streaming. But opening against Despicable Me 4, I don't see it.
I mean, it's not exactly the same audience.
No, that's very true. But I feel like this is gonna maybe make 5
Come
or 10
on,
million
kids.
that
Which
opening
one
weekend.
do you want to go see? Maxine or Despicable Me?
You heard it
4?
here first. Maxpicable Me 4 weekend is a thing.
The Quiet Place will already be out the week prior. I think if anybody wants a sort of adult horror thriller, they're probably going to see that.
No, I think we're all in agreement. This is a very terrible pick by ChatGPT. Started well, finished poorly. All right, let's take a list. Let's take a look at the entire list. See where we're at. How's everybody feel about this? How you feeling about your list? How you feeling about other people's lists? What would you change now?
Did everybody
Change
have at least-
Borderlands.
Did everybody have one pick that nobody else did? I picked Harold and the Purple Crayon, which nobody else did.
Borderlands.
I think you picked Well, actually, Alice did have Borderlands on hers.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had Borderlands.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I made a little
ChatGPT had
speech
Maxine
outstanding
and Craven.
solidarity and everything. Yep.
Yeah, ChatGPT, Maxine and Craven. There we go.
And yeah, Craven
And two people had Alien Romulus. I
and the
think
Bike Riders.
the
Bike
Crow.
Riders.
No,
No,
two people had the Crow.
Oh no, the Bike Riders.
2
was
people had
in
Trap,
the-
3 people had Horizon. Interesting that none of us had Horizon in our top 10, but 3 of us felt strongly to take a chance on it.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's got that potential. Yeah, it is interesting. Actually, there aren't, nobody has, other than the Purple Crayon, I think that's the only non-Chat GPT pick that was a solo pick.
Really? Okay, then.
I think everybody else.
It's funny because I was the one who said straight off, I probably have the most unoriginal list in terms of just parody and what do you want to call it? Variety.
What a
I feel like this is-
twist! You have the most original. Some could say.
apparently. This is very, very slow. How many people have picked Garfield? I think Alice and I mentioned. Oh, Aaron, you did have it. You have it number 7. Okay.
Yeah. I think as I look at my list, I think the key thing for me is for Inside Out to beat Deadpool and Wolverine. Like if that happens, I'm in a really good place because most people are going to have Deadpool and Wolverine at number 1. So that's going to be possibly like 6 points I have that nobody else does. If it goes Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine at 1, 2, that's a really good thing
you
for
can
me.
absolutely brag about that for the rest of the summer because that will have been a very good prognostication to pick that.
So that's what I need. What do you guys need? Like when you look at your list, what would help you out the most, do you think?
If
Furiosa.
Twisters does real well. I think
Yeah, if Twisters does well.
Yeah,
Andrew and I picked that 4th. I think that could blow up. If not, that could bomb out, not even make 50 million. Like, who knows? That's a total. That's
Andrew,
the one
for
I'm
you,
least confident about.
Andrew, for you, it's Borderlands. Borderlands goes nuts.
Well,
Yeah.
Borderlands, I didn't really check the release date on that one, so
I think you still have that comes out August 9th. That has a full 4 weekends to make money. So that I don't think the date will hurt it. In fact, August is famously where some movies, good movies, medium movies, actually have really good legs because there's nothing opening opposite that's like a massive blockbuster. Horizon and Crow will do okay, but Borderlands could win that entire month, I think, easily. It depends on how well Wolverine sort of legs out during that month because that comes out late in the year on July 26th. And yeah, Alice, you mentioned Furiosa. You put that.
I need Furiosa.
You put that
Come
in the silver
on.
medal spot. That is very.
That was
very
my biggest
optimistic.
vibe. That was my.
Yeah.
You should have seen me agonizing last night when I was making the list, and I was just like, it makes no sense, but I'm going with my heart, folks. So,
I mean, I think it
Where
makes a
did
lot.
you
We
end
all
up
had
having
it at
her?
number 5. I mean, other than John, who had it at number 7. Like,
Yeah.
No, it just made no sense to have it that high. But I was just like, it's been everywhere. Like
You could
it's
be
the
right.
wallpaper
You
on my
could be right.
computer at the moment.
My
Like,
gut says you're wrong, but you could be right. You know, my gut says it might actually tank, but
well, go have some peptide or something and change your gut.
Yeah, I think that probably pretty much what each of us need to happen. Clearly, Fall Guy doing gangbusters would help me as well. Those were my two big zags.
You had that one highest up for sure.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, there you go. There are
I feel good
some
about-
game picks.
I feel good about my list. I think this is. I said that last year though when I got last out of the humans. So we'll see. I think this is good.
I think I'm gonna win. So.
Oh,
I don't. I really don't. I really don't. No, I do. You know what? No, I do. You know what? It's here first, folks. Play it back in 4 months or whatever.
How well do you think ChatGPT is going to do compared to last year?
Oh, much better point wise.
better.
I don't know that it will beat us this year.
It might get the top five
that-
bang on. Actually, it has a real chance. Its top five are very strong.
Very good. But that Craven and Bike Riders picks in the 10 are
We'll just ruin it.
yeah. I don't know how you recover because those will probably be 0
Yes.
points. So it has to make up for the others. The other 3 picks aren't bad. Again, I don't think day one's gonna do all that well.
Bike Riders could be a surprise hit that kind of hangs around and eventually ekes its way to like 80 million domestic. But Craven the Hunter will definitely never appear on this list at the end of the year. But its top 5, Deadpool, Despicable Me, Inside Out, Apes, and Furiosa, those I think could be the top 5 of the summer. I don't have them as my top 5, but it's very possible.
When I look at the top 3s, you and ChatGPT have the most likely top 3, I think.
Well, you have the same 3 as well. You just ordered it a little different.
No, I mean order wise. I think it's like common consensus would probably be that Despicable Me 4 will outperform Inside Out 2. I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, I think
That's
historically
probably the
we've seen the Illumination movies do better than maybe they deserve, and the Pixar movies have lately done a little worse than I think they probably deserve.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we'll see.
I
Like,
think
how
that's
did
about to
like
change.
the re-release of Soul or Luca do? I wasn't following those. I know they got
Not well.
re-release. Yeah.
Not well.
And it's like, is that part of the streaming thing? Like, well, we have Soul at home. We don't need to go out and see it. We don't
I
need to
just
go-
wonder if we're going back to, this feels like Finding Dory to me, or, I'm trying to think of like Monsters University, or like it feels like that sequel that just, is
Cars
going to
2.
blow up.
Cars 3.
Cars 2 is another example. So I don't know. This just feels different than any of those other Pixars to me.
Did Monsters
but
University do really well? I actually don't remember that.
I don't actually either. I know Finding Dory did. Finding Dory was
Finding Dory did
crazy.
numbers. Yeah, Monsters University did 743 million worldwide.
There you go.
Box office domestic, it grossed 268.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I
Incredibles
think
2.
also Inside Out has such rewatchability, like the first one, and so I think it's gained. I mean, if it came out in 2015, like there are people that have aged up to the point where it's like, oh my god, I love that movie. I'd love to go see the sequel.
My kids. Like I have
Yeah,
a 6-year-old
and-
that wasn't alive when the first one came out and is now excited and aware of the sequel.
Not
Incredibles.
to mention everyone that's Riley's age. Like, if you're
Yeah.
a teenager, going to go see that you're going to go with all your friends, and then you're going to be like, "Oh my god, that's me." And then like, I just think as well, there's an element like, obviously we're talking about, oh, it's Pixar. If you're talking from a normal person that maybe doesn't pay attention to whether something's Disney or Pixar, and it's all under the one umbrella. It's just like, this is a movie that I put on all the time for the kids, and it's great, and I really enjoy it too. So, and I mean that's why Inside Out works so well, right? Because it also looked at the parents and their emotions. So I think, yeah, it's a change.
I just looked up Incredibles 2. I think that's a great comp for this. And that made over 600 million domestically. Like, I just think
Holy
there's
cow.
that's
It's a good movie too.
yeah. If this is even good at all, I really think, I don't know. I hope I'm right. I could absolutely be wrong.
I think that's
So,
actually a really, really good pick because I think Incredibles and Incredibles 2 is very similar journey to Inside Out 2.
Yeah, to be clear, I don't think I ever meant to. If I did, to berate or disparage your pick at number one, Aaron, because that absolutely could. I'm a huge fan of the franchise, and I think this has potential to do big numbers. I think Deadpool and Wolverine, though, that's something Marvel fans have been waiting for, to get those two franchises together. And I think even if it is only within like the nerd circle, that nerd circle is going to turn out 100%. This is the only movie on our calendar this year in the comic book world worth seeing, and it's going to do big numbers.
I think 400 million is like the least it would make. Like it's like that's the basement. Like it's gonna make in that 500 to 600.
It'll make that in pre-sales.
It's possible. It's very possible.
I think no matter what, Wolverine will probably have the best opening weekend of any movie. I think that's almost assured. That might have really big fall off week 2, but that one's going to have a huge opening weekend. Whereas Inside Out, I could see that one being the movie that just sticks around until August, and families are still going to see it well into before the school starts. We will see.
Yep, we will see. Well, there you go. There's our list. Let's finish with some buried treasure, shall we? Shall we get out the shovels and dig something up?
Dig it up.
Let's go in reverse order. ChatGPT, what is your buried treasure for this week? Just kidding. I know ChatGPT didn't prep a buried treasure. I'll go first. I've been trying to catch up on movies that are leaving the Criterion Channel by the end of the month. I found a nice letterbox list that helped me kind of put them in an order of like priority for me to watch, and ended up watching a movie called Birth. This is 2004. This is Nicole Kidman. It's directed by Jonathan Glazer, who you may know from the latest Oscar race with the Holocaust movie.
Zone of Interest.
What's that? Yeah, Zone of Interest. And this is a story of a woman who whose husband dies, and then 10 years later is visited by a 10-year-old boy who claims to be her husband. And the movie does an incredible job at giving you the ability to have that debate with yourself. Could it is this person really her husband? Is it not? The movie does, by the end, I think, finds a way to give you an answer to hold on to. I'm trying not to give spoilers, but the journey is really tense and interesting. Nicole Kidman is great as always. I really, really enjoyed Birth, and the Jonathan Glazer films aren't necessarily ones a lot of people have caught up on, so I was glad I saw it. So yeah, check out Birth on the Criterion Channel for at least another 5 days.
Thank you for the
What an
recommendation.
interesting concept.
That's been on my list for a bit. I'm aware of that film, and it's been in my watch list for a couple of years now. So thank you for giving me higher incentive to check it out.
Lauren Bacall also in that movie as well. So,
What?
Yep.
Yeah.
Alice, what do you got for your buried treasure?
What do I got? I had 3 options, and I accidentally hit reply all when I sent my third one to Phil. So hopefully you guys haven't seen this. But today, in fact, came out part 5 of what is a so far 5-part concept album where this guy Jay Harans is taking the Odyssey and making a musical from it. So the part 5 that released today is the Underworld saga, and so there's before that all the way from when they leave Troy to the Cyclops, to being to a whole element with Poseidon, to Circe, and now in the Underworld. And it is so good. If you are a fan of musicals, I cannot recommend this more. It is So insanely good. I would also recommend it, especially if you're a musical of Lin-Manuel Miranda musicals, like specifically Hamilton and In the Heights, because I think that he is very much inspired by that type of music. He actually made his own musical that I would recommend listening to the soundtrack to as well, because it's very good. But in this specific case, it is so well put together. It is so well thought out. If you're a Greek myth fan, if you like the Odyssey, if you're even just vaguely interested, like start from the beginning and work your way. I think that part 5 is its strongest part so far, and I listened to it about 8 times already, and that's after your girl's already been on her Tortured Poets Department train. So it broke me out of that to listen to this today, and it's so good. I cannot recommend it enough.
I feel like anything that dethrones Taylor Swift in an opening week is worthy of announcement there.
Yep.
Not a bad recommendation.
John, what's your buried treasure?
I'm going deep, going very long with History is Made at Night, a great sort of genre-bending drama, romance, comedy from 1937 with Charles Boyer and Jean Arthur. Jean Arthur? It's probably Jean Arthur, Academy Award-nominated actress. This was such a surprise for me. I sought this out. It was on a couple of my watch lists. I was in the mood for some old black and white film, and it is a well-paced, great 97-minute film that starts with a bit of murder and mystery, and there's an abusive husband, and then there's like this suitor that's like a little mysterious, and they fall in love, and then the movie kind of changes genres, and it becomes kind of a bit of a situational comedy, and there's a bit of almost I don't want to say slapstick humor, but like kind of really goofy elements. And then the third act becomes a legitimate like disaster epic, and it becomes like an action film almost. And there's a set piece towards the end that blew my mind, that they were accomplishing this sort of scale and scope in 1937. I loved the plot. I loved the dialogue, the cinematography. This is one of those movies I had never even heard of like a year ago, and it is now one of my favorites from 1937. This was a 10 out of 10 for me. I don't give those out a lot. So if you're in the mood for like a good sort of rom-com drama from 1937, yeah, check out Frank Borzage's History is Made at Night. Can't recommend it enough. It was real fun for me. Legitimately laughing out loud, which when a movie is, 85, 87 years old, doesn't happen often. Like the humor still lands the way it's supposed to. So that was great.
Very nice. Looks like that's on the Criterion channel, available there.
Nice.
Let's see, Andrew, what do you got for your buried treasure?
I am going to go with the NXL Lone Star Major Paintball Tournament, which is going on right now in Garland, Texas, April 26th through the 28th. This is the second event in the series of, I think, 6 events this year. And it's, you know me, I love paintball. I play every single weekend. I go tournaments all over the U.S. This is the largest series. It's the one I want to play in one day. Yeah, you can watch it if you go on YouTube. If you type in Go Sports, and the Go Sports channel is streaming the events all this weekend if you want to watch.
Very cool. That is the NXL Lone Star Major Paintball Tournament on YouTube. History is Made at Night is on Criterion. Epic The Underworld Saga, I imagine you can snag wherever you snag your music. And Birth, which is also on the Criterion channel.
Such an eclectic group of treasure this week. I love it.
Well, we did it,
Different
guys.
categories and everything.
We managed to accomplish a podcast. Congratulations to all of us. And we will not be having a competition on which of the 4 of us will make the most domestically over the course of the summer.
Well, I would lose that one.
You'll be
Gotta tell you
making
guys,
0.
this podcast was huge, totally huge. So glad we
to
did
know.
What's
it.
huge?
So great.
Good to know. Good to
Shouldn't
know.
you be in a courtroom right now?
Savage Burn.
Thanks so much for joining us today for Sif Pop. It is part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. You can find out more about other shows on the network at studiodna.media or by searching Studio DNA in your podcast player. Huge thanks to Andrew for hanging out again today.
Thank you, buddy.
Big thanks to producer Phil for producing the audio and video show.
Thanks, Phil.
And thank you to our guests this week. We'll start with Alice Micheli. Where can people find you, Alice?
Well, as always, I am a writer for sifpop.com. My most recent was a review of Back to Black because it's a good time to be Australian, folks. We got that early April, so I've seen it. I reviewed it. Did I like it? No. Maybe. Go find out. And otherwise, you can find me on Letterboxd and Instagram at Ali-G-Mick, M-I-C-H for Mick.
Very nice. And thank you to John Paula for hanging out again today. John, where can people find you?
I'm back on YouTube again. Admittedly, I've only posted 2 videos in the last month, but that's more than I posted the 4 years previous. So head on over to youtube.com/jogwheel, JOGWHEEL. It's good to be back posting video reviews, movie thoughts, and things like that. And I broke down 5 different versions of the Dune story, both from Denis Villeneuve to the miniseries to a movie that never actually got made in the 1970s, which is a very fun documentary. A documentary about a movie that wasn't. Always a good time. But yeah, back on YouTube and excited about that.
Very nice. Well, I appreciate you both. Appreciate you both being here. It's always a fun time. And of course, we will have you back at the end of the summer to celebrate/lament our picks
And ridicule.
together.
Perhaps ridicule.
And perhaps even ridicule. We'll see how it goes. And
I hope you're ready to eat some humble pie, which in Australia is a meat pie, by the way.
I was actually going to use the pun. Might have Andrew and the robot will have to eat the crow rather than crow.
Yes.
Yes,
That's really good.
Each
That's really
crow.
good.
Very nice.
Very good.
Also very nice is our amazing group of supporters. Thank you so much for supporting what goes on here at SifPop at Patreon. It's patreon.com/SifPop. Support starts at $3 a month. Thanks for even considering it. We really do appreciate those who make SifPop able to happen. There's also a lot of ways you can help us by commenting, rating, leaving reviews. All that stuff helps as well. You can do that wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. If you have any questions for us, any feedback, you can send that to feedback@sifpop.com. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like the show too, so make sure you let them know about it and that listening is much easier than keeping Kevin Costner from doing a Western. We'll be back next week with some more movie chat, and we will see you guys then.
Bye.
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 Thanks, live chat, for hanging out with us on a Friday morning. Got to book it this morning, so we won't be able to hang out and take questions or anything, but did want to thank you personally for hanging out with us live. We enjoyed doing the live shows, and thanks for making time in your day.